And now, as usual, I will now mute everybody. Okay, welcome everybody. Today's China Today. We are on the last meeting for this term. So let me share screen first. The screen I want to share. I haven't moved back to the first slide. Oh, sorry. Hang on a sec. I move it to the first slide first. This one. Okay, let me just share screen again. Come on. Share screen. Where's my hey, keynote here. Okay, share. And first of all, let me just make sure that I got a better, larger screen. Okay. Last time we talked about can China sustain economically? I haven't actually finished all, so let me just finish that off, and then we'll continue to look at the politics. So that will be continued from last week. Now, this is a data from Our World in Data, talking about people living in extreme poverty, and the starting time is 1963, and the ending time is 2023. The screen you are now looking at is at 2023. China is no longer considered a country with significant amount of people in extreme poverty. The color line represents how severe is that extreme poverty in terms of percentage. So some countries, almost 80%, 90% people are in extreme poverty. But I will play this, and then let's see the time changes. Okay, let's play. Okay, at this point, at about 1985, China is in deep red. So most people there are in extreme poverty. Now defined by at the current is $1.75 US cents per day. That is defined as extreme poverty. Okay, so let's continue. As the time goes by, China is now starting to look a little bit better, about 50 to 60% poor. But the African countries is getting worse. Of course, we see the Europeans, the Americans, and the Canadians, the Russians, Australia here, pretty comfortable. Our poverty, people in extreme poverty is almost zero. Of course, there's never zero, but close to zero. Let's put it that way. Okay, by 2019 or 2020, China moved itself from extreme poverty. The government said it becomes zero. What we are looking at is there any area of growth, at least economically, in order to sustain further growth in the next, say, 10 or 20 years? We are talking about sustainability. Can China continues to sustain that amount of growth? Looking at this graph, I would say, number one, what if those deep red area in Africa is no longer deep red? How much economic opportunity would there be? Now we are talking about a couple of billion people there. Now China has about 1.4 billion people, another 1.4 billion people in India. So India is a very growth area. Its its current poverty level is about 20%, 30%. And that means there's a huge middle class there. China has obviously has a large middle class. United States has a very large middle class, I'll put it that way. But today's middle class in China is already the whole population of United States. That means in terms of market, we can look at the market in several ways. One is in terms of those satisfying middle class market economy. Another group is satisfying those in developing countries. And then if we can move the people in the developing country into middle class, it opens up a huge economic opportunity. So there is one area I would say, yes, there is economic opportunity of growth. The question is, how can we get that growth? So look at the new growth areas. Now, besides the traditional area, which I just point out from supplying the economic developments to these poor countries, there is a whole amount of economic growth opportunity. But there's also other growth opportunities, new growth areas, renewable energy, space exploration, infrastructure development, artificial intelligence, chips, biotechnology. There's a whole lump of growth potential there. Let's look at one of the review. This is by somebody I don't know, okay?
Good afternoon. Last year, the investment bank UBS did a series of engineering reports. They bought electric vehicles from car makers around the world. They took the cars completely apart and had engineers analyze the car's advantages, disadvantages, costs, quality, and supply chains. In September of last year, they published their analysis of BYD's Seal. Here are some photos of BYD's Seal car. It's an electric vehicle produced here in China. And this report, as we'll see, had some very bad news for other car makers around the world, and especially in Europe. They note in the beginning that China went from the world's largest importer of cars to the world's largest exporter in a very short time. And the price of the BYD Seal is under 30,000 USD. The Teardown series, this is their project of taking apart all these electric vehicles and reporting on them. And BYD is China's #1 car maker, possibly the top car maker in the world by now. They observe here that BYD and other OEMs from China are going with high tech and low cost for the mass market. OEMs are original equipment manufacturers. It's the factory that actually produces the product. It's not just the brand, but it's the factory too. That's what an OEM is, an original equipment manufacturer. UBS calculates that right away, BYD has a 25% advantage in cost over other legacy competitors. What's more, BYD's cost advantage is sustainable. It's not temporary. A legacy company is one that's been in the business for a long time. So Ford, Toyota, BMW, these are legacy companies. And here, UBS is saying that because of the huge built-in cost advantages, that Chinese car makers are going to double their global market share in about 5 years. When they compare BYD with comparable electric vehicle models from other car makers, BYD's Seal is better and much cheaper. And if you turn that around, not only much cheaper, but also better, thanks to high degrees of vertical integration. Vertical integration means that the same company can build everything without outsourcing. BYD has the battery cell technology and the production of it, assembly of the vehicle, powertrain, electronics. It's all BYD, and they don't need to rely on anyone else. And the driver assistance systems are best in class. Compared to models from legacy car makers, UBS figures that the vertical integration for legacy vehicles is 30%. That means that 70% of their vehicles need to be outsourced to other companies. And BYD has a huge advantage because China's such a huge manufacturing center, deep supply chain advantages as well as production advantages. Going back to vertical integration, even a giant company like BYD cannot be 100% vertically integrated. Rubber for the tires, glass for the windows, upholstery, leather for the seats. But being in China gives them huge advantages on those because all those supply chains here are also here in China. The legacy OEMs don't have those in-house either, and they're getting a lot of those components from China too, or they're paying more for them if they're buying from elsewhere. UBS's summary is here, and there's several good points. UBS concludes that European car makers are going to be most in trouble. The cost advantage is going to be almost impossible for them to overcome. And when BYD and other Chinese brands begin to compete in Europe, they're going to be taking a lot of markets there. UBS released this report on September 1 on BYD and SEAL, and stock prices for European car makers dropped immediately. At a car show in Munich, the CEO of Renault admitted that the Chinese car makers are way ahead of everyone else. He said that they're a generation ahead. The chief of Schleifer, Klaus Rosenfeld, was looking at the Chinese cars that are on display at the show and said, these are real cars and they're going to be a big problem. These are Germans saying this, remember, and UBS is a Swiss investment bank. These guys aren't salesmen working for BYD. Quite the opposite, in fact. To go back to the line in the UBS report that made everybody pay close attention, the BYD SEAL is a better car and much cheaper. Here is that part again. If a car is better but more expensive, that's normal. You get what you pay for. That's how we say it. If a car is less expensive but lower quality, that's to be expected too. But for a vehicle to be better and much cheaper, that's going to put a lot of other people out of business. So UBS says that they expect China's car market share of electric vehicles across the world to double before 2030. That's not that far away. They're saying that BYD will be able to sell them as fast as they can be built and shipped out. The price is right where the mass market is. The quality is fine, and it's going to be really hard for the legacy car makers to sell against them. Thanks. Be good.
Okay, so obviously China found at least one growth area, new energy vehicles. And together with these new energy vehicles, of course, we need to store the energy, storage, that is battery. We need to be able to transport the energy from one place to other. China has the world's most high voltage direct transmission lines. And new renewable energy need to be generated. China is producing about 80% of the world's photovoltaic, and is producing about 90% of the wind turbines. So China is very much into building renewable energy capabilities. Just 2023, the amount of PV panels put up by China is greater than all the rest of the world have put up ever. That means China in 1 year doubled the world's capability of producing photoelectric energy. That's 1 year, 2023. We don't know what will happen next. Now, in terms of electric vehicles, I was in China, and in China, we had something similar to Uber. We call it Dig. And there are different classes of Dig. There are some which is for more economical people. So the car is a little bit less expensive, less luxury. I was traveling with my sister, who has been CFO, Chief Financial Officers for some large companies. So she travels in first class tic-tic. So we all book for professional tic-tic cars. All from our experience, all the cars are electric cars. None of them is internal combustion engine anymore. There's no ICE anymore. It's all electric. That's number one. And when President Xi Jinping go to other countries, he ride in a equivalent to Rolls-Royce car in China. It's called Red Flag. Red Flag is similar in status as Rolls-Royce in Western countries. So we were able to travel twice on a Red Flag, and for the other 10 or 20 trips, we all travel in BYD Han. Now, outside, people doesn't know about the dynasty of China, so they changed name to, for example, Xiu. This is Xiu. But in China, they keep using the Chinese dynasty as their car model. Han is a sedan, a very comfortable sedan, and it is all four-wheel drive, very low noise. When the car stops, there's no engine running, so it's completely silent. The suspension is very good. Leather seats with I think it's 16-inch display in the middle as the control center. That is BYD. Of course, we all know that China has its own space station, so that's space exploration. We all also know that China is very keen on infrastructure building. So there are a lot of growth areas to support the next 10 to 20 years. I don't worry about that. What I worry about is how other people can compete. This is not BYD. This is another car maker in China.
This is arguably one of the most automated car factories in China, or even on this planet. We got a chance to go deep inside.
欢迎来参观未来第二世纪制造工厂。
Walking through this corridor, we immediately got to our first stop, the paint shop. The core of the workshop is the giant vehicle storage system, what they call the cube. I prefer to call it a giant claw machine. Anyway, the 6-story vertical garage can stock 246 vehicle bodies, with 2 elevator handles helping to store and retrieve. This buffering process helps avoid constantly changing the spray gun. This lifts the overall production efficiency.
我们现在整个 OTD 从订单客户下订单到他拿到车，总共只要21天的时间。
Next stop, body shop. In here, over 700 robotic machines are doing their jobs in an orderly fashion. But the leading technology here is what goes behind the fully automated door installation. The robotic machines are able to tightly and smoothly install the 4 doors to all of NIO's 8 selling models, with a tolerance of plus or minus 0.05 millimeters. It is about the same width as a single strand of your hair. As we were moving to our final stop, I unintentionally revealed my lack of knowledge.
哎，小心，不会，他自己会停下，会停是吧？对。
These auto-guided vehicles, or AGVs, are everywhere in NIO's plant, especially in the general assembly shop. They transport car parts or even car bodies to their designated locations, with no interference from human beings. Of course, the robotic machines are programmed to avoid human workers too. Right here, the assembly line only moves when the workers stand behind this yellow line, and when they go into the yellow line and start to do their work, the assembly line stops thanks to the little sensor right here. And this is to ensure the workers' safety. China has been the world's largest new energy vehicle market for 8 consecutive years. The country has witnessed a dramatic increase in the number of electric cars on its roads, with domestic manufacturers such as NIO gaining prominence.
其实我们整个的理念就是能够把我们现在的一些先进的技术展现给同行，大家只有相互交流、相互促进，才能让这个行业去更向上的去发展。
China used to rely heavily on foreign car brands and their manufacturer technology, but now almost 80% of the country's new energy vehicle sales come from local brands. And boosted by the growth of new energy vehicle exports, China's total auto export is expected to surpass Japan to become the world's #1 this year. So it is fair to say the Chinese car companies have become extremely competitive. Thus, that last part are not my words, but those of Elon Musk.
Okay, so we see that there is a lot of robots working in a car manufacturing company, and that car manufacturing company isn't the biggest, isn't BYD, it's NIO. So let's look at the other growth area in terms of providing services. We all know that, for example, America has moved into the service industry as its major economy. American still have some manufacturing, but its main economy is driven by services. How about China? Can China grow its service sector? Well, we all know that the developed world is getting old, including Australia here, everywhere else. Our ladies does not give more than on average, just about 2.1 child per woman. That means we are barely sustaining. Our baby boomers are now getting old, and we are getting able to live longer and longer, and therefore our percentage of people above 60 is growing. For example, in Hong Kong, I participated in one of the presentation, and the official from Hong Kong government had done a survey. At the moment, Hong Kong's percentage of population over 65 is about 28%. It's really high, but it will grow to 30% by 2030, and then by 2050, it is approaching 40%. Now, 40% people is older than 65, and Hong Kong retirement age is 60, and the expected life expectancy is 78 years for ladies and 75 years for men. So from retirement to death, there are still 15 years, and that 15 years length has to be serviced either by pension, by pension, or by the what's that fund we all pay to keep our alive. Whatever the retirement funds, okay, either by private retirements or by government, whatever, we need to keep them keep these people alive. So that will create a huge demand for service to look after the elderly, right? Including accommodation, nursing, medical, etc. So there is a huge opportunity there. And as the population get old, we also will have a declining labor force, and that labor force is supplemented by robots. This is a video I made when I was in Guangdong in January this year. I visited a private retirement home. What you are looking at at is a private retirement home. This retirement home had just less than 900 beds. Just less than 900 is 890 something. The lower two levels, the level on the lower floor and the next level up, are all amenity areas. And outside that building, you see the roof, the red, the blue lines there. There's a paved plastic track for the elderly to walk on. The whole complex is 30 acres. 30 acres. So what we're seeing is just a small area of that building. On the left-hand side, which is out of the screen, is going to be a specialized hospital to cater for the needs of these about 900 elderlies. So let me play a little bit. I apologize because I did this for my Cantonese audience. So my explanation is Cantonese. The title is Are You Retiring in Guangzhou? This is a private retirement area, a private facilities. That means it is going to make money out of the elderlies. The price for staying there, for those who are independent, that means you don't need 24-hour care. You can go to toilet yourself, you can eat yourself, you can walk, etc. That will be about 5,000 renminbi per month. 5,000 renminbi is about 1,000, a little bit more at the moment, depending on the strength of our Australian dollar. It is about $1 Australian to 4.5 to $5 renminbi. So it's about 1,000 renminbi per month for a elderly like that, resting in, living in this, all included, including meals, including everything, even including barber service, cutting hair. Oh, let me play a little bit for you to look at the environment. This is the outside environment. Okay, let's see whether I can, no. How can I mute the sound? I can't mute the sound. Okay, just. 廣州嘅老人院，咁呢個就係我個訪問記錄。This is a single room. This is double room. And there's sofa on the other side. This is 3-person room. And this is the 4-person room. And in these rooms, there is a little window in the bathroom. That is for those who are in need of continuous care. The carer can come in, look at what's happening inside in case of somebody fall over, etc. 窗仔可以俾你護理人員望到佢入邊啦。咁呢一個嘅問題咧就係可能會影響啲私人，但係咧對一啲高度需要照顧啲老人家嚟講咧，呢個係安全問題。咁而家呢個小嘅窗口咧，可以俾到啲護理人員喺緊急情況之下咧，睇睇老人家喺入邊咧係有冇問題嘅。咁當然啦，唔需要高度護理嗰啲啦，咁呢個窿咧可以喺入邊咧係閂咗㗎。For those who doesn't need that level of care, there's a little shader in the toilet, so you can put a shader down and then you have total privacy. 我參觀呢一個嘅園啦。Okay, so This is a totally self-financed retirement home for those which are a government or public. Then the price will be about a quarter of what I had just said to you, about 1,000, a little bit more for a citizen of China. Although I'm a citizen of Australia, but because I was born in Hong Kong, I got the right of abode. So if I do need that kind of service, I will be charged. If I'm accepted into a government retirement home, I will be charged at about 1,000 renminbi per month. Of course, the price will adjust according to inflation, but you can lock in the price by having a long contract. Okay, so that concludes the points about whether China can continue to grow sustainably in the next 10 or 20 years. There are a lot of economic opportunities there. Now we look at the politics. Of course, like before, I like to look at what we are in at the moment and then see what is the alternative provided by China. Here, I'm not advocating for Chinese system. I'm only giving an example of another system. Whether that system is good or bad for that population is totally dependent on the cultural background, the ethnic background, a whole number of other factors. So I'm not suggesting there's a good government or bad government. I'm just comparing government and look at whether governments are sustainable. Going back, we know democracy comes from Plato's Republic. There's a book, Plato's book. Republic is the second worst form of government in Plato's formulation. According to Plato, democracy is a danger due to excessive freedom. Plato also argues that in a system in which people have a right to rule, all sorts of selfish people who care nothing for the people but are only motivated by their own personal desires are able to attain power. He concludes that democracy risks bringing dictators, tyrants, and demagogues to power. He also claims that the democracies have leaders without proper skills or morals, and that it's quite unlikely that the best equipped to rule will come to power. Plato's ideal rulers are philosopher kings. Not only are they the most wise, but they also are virtuous and selfless. To combat corruption, Plato's Socrates suggests that the rulers should live simply and communally. Contrary to social values at the time, Socrates suggests that sex should not be a factor in deciding who should rule, so women as well as men can rule. Socrates proposed that the guardians should mate and reproduce, and that the children will be raised communally rather than by their biological parents. The children's biological parents will never be known to them, so that no guardian will prefer his or her own offsprings over the common good. The children of the guardian class will be tested, and only the most wise and virtuous will become rulers. To me, it is very communist, but that is from Plato. So here I try to list some what I observe as ills of modern Western government. So first of all, we talk about the resource distribution via either neo-capitalism or just capitalism. First of all, what we observe is almost all election-based government has huge government debts. The most significant is, of course, Japan, 255% of GDP in 2023. That means the whole Japanese people's economy, working for 2.5 years, is only able to pay off its government debt. Moving down, we have both Greece and Singapore as 168, Italy 144. Now the G7 average is 128. United States 123. But United States and Canada should have a star there, meaning that these financial debts does not include their unfunded pension liabilities. So these are all governments created through election. Here is another look at the poverty levels. The country average in 2014 is 21.0%. That is the percentage of children aged between 0 to 17 living in a household with income lower than 60% of the median. So that is the line. We notice that on the right-hand side, we still have a number of so-called democratic countries like Mexico, Spain, United States right there, Portugal, Greece, etc. On the other side, we have the Eastern European, Western European countries like Denmark, Iceland, etc. They are much better. That was children's poverty ratio, and this is the pensioners' poverty. The pensioner poverty, we are among the worst. About 35.5% of people aged 65 above is living in an income poverty as referenced by OECD. Now that is from the Forbes Statistica. And Netherlands seems to be the best place for the retirees. Only 2% are considered below the income poverty line. We are not very good. Of course, I know if we are pensioners without our private funds, then what is the payment rate today? I think it's about 3,000 Australian dollars per month for couples. So you imagine how people can manage living with $3,000 per month for 2 people. And Oxfam produced a report. The link is here. Talk about the G7's deadly sin. I'm not quoting everything. I just highlighting some of them related to economy. Wealth inequality. So how much the lower 50%, the poorest percent own is in purple. How much is the richest 10% own is in orange. United States, the top 1% own 76% of the wealth in that country, whereas the poorest 50% own only 1% of the wealth of that country. The second one is Germany, and then the third one is UK. These are all democratic countries, the G7s. The G7s obviously is highly unequal in terms of wealth distribution. Now, again, this is from Oxfam. The first one is captured politics. For example, it quotes the pharmaceutical industry. The drug companies spend about $200 million per year on lobbying. more than any other sector. And the other thing is, of course, tax cuts for the rich. We always heard about in every budget, they talk about tax cut, tax cut, tax cut. But if you look at it closely, most of the tax cuts are for the rich people. Okay. This is how the composition of the G7 tax income, where the tax come from. They put corporate income tax as negative. That means the corporates are actually getting different kinds of promotion programs from the government more than their contribution towards the tax. This is a trend of the corporate income tax, just corporate, not personal. United States has been staying at 40% and then dropped recently. And the G7 average is this purple line here. It has been dropping and dropping and dropping. That means the corporations are contributing less and less towards the country's income source. As such, they neglect social spending. The income getting less, of course, social spending get cut off. And all corporate companies focuses on shareholder distributions. Many of their CEOs have a clause in their salary package. If their stock price raise a certain amount, then they got a bonus. And that bonus can be very substantial. That means if you want to keep your stock price high, what you need to do is move as much profit to the shareholders. Let the shareholders take the major profit. Now, in terms of distribution of wealth, we have several distribution mechanisms. We know that most of people need to work. When we work, we provide our service either through working, through writing, through whatever. We provide our service, and in exchange, we get our salary to make the company which employ us to make a profit. So the company use that profit to give us the salary. So that is the first distribution of wealth, or profit. The company generate wealth, generate profit. That profit is first distributed through salary and shareholders share. That is the first distribution. If the first distribution is totally biased towards the capital, that means the company is trying to squeeze the maximum out of the workers. The workers get minimum salary. As long as you are willing to work for this low salary, I will employ you. Any higher, we try to suppress it to maximize the profit. Because workers' salary is considered a cost. So in order to maximize profit, we minimize costs. And all the profit generated basically is distributed to the capital, who had to do nothing. They own the capital. They sit there and then the capital make them the maximum amount of profit. If we had changed that concept, we enforce that the first distribution of profit has to have a certain amount distributed throughout the company. Let's say when a company make a profit, by law, let's say we put it by law, 50% of that profit must go to the employees. Then on average, the employees will be much better off compared with today. These better off employees will become middle class. Well, that is what American dreams, Australian dreams are about. We want to be able to work and be able to bring up a family and be able to own a house and have quality living. So that is our dream. If we do a proper first distribution of profit, then we all get better. We have a larger middle class, and the middle class will consume. That's the typical middle class. And by consumption, that means we have more demand of products, and therefore products sell better. Products sell better, that means people making the products get more profit, and which in terms give it back to the community and therefore raise the standard of living for the whole community. That's one way of doing it. What is the current way? The current way is all the profit is maximized. Some of the workers are working poor. They struggling to become a middle class. They try to limit their expense, and all the wealth collected at the top by the capitalists. Of course, they will be looking for opportunity to invest. But if the economy is not going well, there's no investment opportunity. You have to look for investment opportunity. That means there's a lot of dead money sitting there in the bank looking for opportunities rather than distributing that money to everybody, generating local economy. The returns of share is rising for the corporate. There's another data. Another use is the failure to perform public goods. Here is Sydney.
State Treasurer has warned Sydney's housing crisis could produce a city like San Francisco with masses of homeless people on the streets. Our homeless numbers are up 23% in a year, the latest camp in a normally affluent suburb.
In Potts Point, sleeping on the streets, outside the long boarded up Metro Minerva Theatre, home for as many as 10 a night, Tas for more than 2 years.
This is all we've got at the moment, under a little bit of shelter. When it rains from this direction, we don't get wet.
Police and council workers this morning cleared up some items, the realities of homelessness.
Most people don't realise that they're only 2 or 3 mortgage payments away from where I am at the moment.
As a housing summit was told, Sydney is running out of time and compared to San Francisco in a crisis after halting housing construction.
In San Francisco, you have middle-class people lining up soup kitchens. They could have made better choices. They didn't.
As one choice for Sydney-siders grows more popular, 65% support greater density around rail stations, up from 58% last year. 52% back greater density overall, up from 44%.
We need to do a lot, and that means building up, not out.
Homelessness and the chronic need for crisis and social accommodation, part of a broader housing crisis that's forcing many to give up on Sydney. 11% of residents dissatisfied with life here, housing a big reason. 21% of those say they'd like to leave.
The reality is Sydney is not working for young people right now.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
Okay, that is our Sydney not too long ago. This is from Canada.
The journey started with a bunch of different places, trying to look for places that were 24 hours. So I could stay overnight, that would be quiet. And I found a couple places. The first one was the Ottawa International Airport, where I stayed there for about 8 days before I was discovered. I stayed there, then I got escorted out, and then that's when I started the bus journey, which is behind us, I guess, where I would take buses, all through the night. I figured out the bus routes so that I could get to, which was basically from the airport was the 97 to Herdman, and then from Herdman I could get to Rideau, and from Rideau I could get all the way to Barhaven Center. Happily discovered that there was a 24-hour Timmy's in Barhaven, and enjoyed lots of coffee. There's a way that you could basically, between there and the O train, of basically pretty much staying on buses all night. If you have a bus pass, You can ride as much as you want. Just keep tapping your pass. I spent some time at three of the hospitals. For that period of time, I found a quiet corner and found a blanket, and I got some good sleep there. I had a storage locker by that time, where I had my stuff, and I'd heard rumors that you weren't supposed to stay in it, but I'd also found a number of articles online where people were doing it anyway. You know, they just didn't have anywhere to live. So where are you going to live? You're going to live in your truck. You're going to live in your storage locker. You're going to find, a nice tree and camp under it. Tent village. I mean, what are your choices? And it's not that I can't afford rent. I can afford rent, but the rentals that are out there in Ottawa right now, and everybody knows how difficult it is to find a place. I was at the storage locker for about a month before I got discovered. Somewhere I slipped up, but I tried very hard to be inconspicuous. I kept the place clean. It was where I was staying. I didn't eat in there. It was just get in there, crash, get up. I'm not an expert, but I've lived on the street. I've been lived on the street since June. So 6 months of traveling the roads, meeting people, running into people, seeing what I call the remnants of homelessness. The downtown core is not where people want to stay because they're worried about their safety if they go down to the downtown core. We have all kinds of issues about knifings and gunfights and all kinds of stuff in the Byward Market. I love the Byward Market, but I wouldn't stay there. Not on a street corner, not in a shelter. I want to get out of this. I want to find a place that I can rent, which is clean. I can have a nice bath. I can cook some food, and then hopefully still live the Canadian dream, so to speak.
Another one.
Medina Bonifacia. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Your motor vehicle has been booted.
Yeah, I'm just going through a lot right now, to be honest.
What's the matter?
I'm just having a lot of personal problems. I'm having somebody stalk me and it's just homelessness, stuff like that.
You're homeless?
Yeah.
Do you have housing?
No.
Where do you live?
I was going from family member to family member's houses, but they only let me stay for so long, and I was just sleeping in my car, so it's just kind of just difficult situation.
Your motor vehicle has been booted.
It has been.
And in addition to that, you have 10 violations.
Yeah.
And are you living in your car?
Yeah.
So now you don't even have any place to live because your car was taken.
Exactly.
Are you working?
I just got a job. I was working before. I was actually working at Smart Green not too long ago, but I was dealing with homelessness and just dealing with a lot of things. And now I was jobless for a little while, and now I'm working at a restaurant. And I was just hoping that I could be able to do some kind of like payment plan to be able to keep my car. And I don't know if my license is suspended. I don't know.
Well, you've gone through a lot based on what you're telling me.
Yeah, I am.
How far did you go in school?
About 12th grade. I have autism. I'm on the spectrum. I didn't finish because I actually had a relationship that was really difficult on me, and I didn't want to go to school anymore.
How long ago was that when you quit school?
2011. So
11 years ago.
yeah.
How much can you afford to pay today?
I have like $5 in my pocket. I was broke as of last week when my car insurance took the money out of my bank. So that's all I have, and I just started my job today. Like I just started my job this week.
You have $5 to your name.
Yeah, that's all I have in my purse right now.
I'm going to order, it's mandatory, I'm going to order a $100 boot fee. I'm going to charge you $300 for the tickets.
Thank you so much.
You're going to owe $400. $300 of that will be paid by the Philomena Fund.
By what?
Philomena Fund is a fund that's named after my mom. It consists of monies that are sent from all over the world for the court to use its discretion to help people that are in need. You certainly are in need. So I'm going to use $300 of that fund for your benefit.
Thank you.
All right. and the boot will be released. You then will owe $100. I'm gonna give you 1 month to pay the 100. If you can't pay it, I want you to come back and see me. And if your circumstances don't change, then I will arrange for that to be paid as well.
Thank you so much.
You understand that?
Thank you.
So when you leave here today, the boot will be taken off the car. You will have your car.
Thank you.
Do you have any money to eat?
I've been working at the restaurant, so that's how I'm able to live. I've been only eating like 1 meal a day because they give one free meal.
Everybody deserves a chance in life. You know, it's easy to be very strict and say, well, I'm sorry, that's it. Right? But I try to take people's personal situation into account. And I think you've had some challenges that are very difficult to face. And you've been very forthright and very honest about them. And that's why I'm trying to help you.
Thank you.
We're gonna also, before you leave, we're gonna arrange to give you $50 in cash from the Philomena Fund, so you will have some money so you can get something to eat
Thank you.
for a couple of days.
Thank you.
You understand that?
Thank you.
Okay, so before you leave the courtroom, I'll make that arrangement for you, okay?
Okay.
See you, Alyssa.
Thank you.
You're smiling now, it's better.
Yeah.
You have something to smile about?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, you can go. You want to see her?
Your Honor, I play in restaurants and I get free food. And I play tonight if you're around. I'm playing at Adwell's
Okay.
and Napolitanos, and I can give you the free meal that I usually get.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You know, she don't eat the cheap meal. She gets.
Oh yeah, the lobster.
Yeah,
I didn't
she
know if
gets-
they're gonna go for that.
She gets an appetizer. She has a.
Okay, when I first saw this video, my eyes are wet. So I'm still okay. So let's move on to the next one. This is from New York City, close to the UN headquarters. Okay, I don't think we need to watch the whole thing. So that is what is happening in the so-called rich countries like ours, like Canada, like US. She is from South Africa, and she is now in China. And she talks about what the Chinese have been doing in the past whatever years. Let me play a little bit, and you will like, then you can follow up.
Infrastructure in America versus infrastructure in China. What you are about to see today is truly shocking. If you're new to the channel, ni hao, I'm Lizzie, and as Billy calls me these days, the lychee from South Africa. By the way, it is a beautiful day here in China today. It rained a little bit and it's getting dark, my absolutely favorite time of the day. Let's get right into it. So, the haters, let's just get that out of the way. I am not paid by the CCP to say these things. I'm not paid by any government, by the way, not even by my amazing South African government. Nope, it's just me, my camera that I bought, and the truth. Okay, so I am not from America, and I'm also not from China. So I am completely unbiased in what I will share with you today. Okay, let's start with China's infrastructure. For the past 30+ years, China has been evolving at an extraordinary rate, faster than any other country in the world. High-speed rail. China boasts the world's largest high-speed rail network, covering thousands of kilometers and connecting major cities across the country. China has invested heavily in building an extensive network of roads and highways. Ports. China has some of the busiest ports globally, which serve as vital hubs for international trade. Airports. China has rapidly expanded its infrastructure with modern airports in major cities and ambitious plans for further expansion. There's more. China is home to some of the world's tallest skyscrapers and rapidly growing mega cities. Substantial investment in urban infrastructure, such as transportation and housing. Smart cities. China is experimenting with smart city technologies to improve efficiency, sustainability, and quality of life in urban areas. Dams and reservoirs. China has built numerous dams and reservoirs for hydropower generation, flood control, and water supply purposes. The Three Gorges Dam is one of the most notable examples. Out of the world's 10 tallest bridges, 8 of them are in China. One of them is actually built across an ocean. Okay, whoa. That one.
Okay, now that is too much. You can search for him or her, Lizzy, Liezzy. So another problem with the current election-based government is their election cycle is rather short. And almost every time when the government change hands, some policies will reverse. And that reversal means we will start again. Maybe in the same area, but it still start again. And then a few years later, change of government, and then another reversal, and so on. So we keep one step forward, one step back, one step forward, one step back. That means we are never going anywhere. In terms of governments, the politicians aren't social scientists. They are policymakers. They make policy, but they don't make plans. They don't know how to execute. Of course, you will say, okay, we have the government. The government is has a bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy will execute the plan. But unfortunately, when the policy reverse, the government have no choice but to reverse. Again, that go back to that one step forward, one step backward. The politicians' most important agenda is getting re-elected. If they can't get re-elected, nothing will happen. So that is their top priority. Everything is only second. And because this is general election, they need to do campaign. So they need funding to do the campaign in order to get elected. We all know that will lead to funding by special interest group, and that special interest groups can later on demand the government to do things on their behalf. And does election really give us the best leader? Well, look at the coming 2024 US presidential election. Are we so sure that Trump and Biden are the only two best candidates for the United States? So let me explain the Chinese system. As I said, I'm not going to promote the Chinese system. I just come in here to give you another example of how a government may be formed. The Chinese government consists of 5 levels. The top level is, of course, the National Congress. The lowest level are the congresses for townships, ethnic minority townships and towns. So very small local area, a village, a little town. So there is a congress. And then progressively outward, we have bigger districts, congress of city, and then into prefectures, and then into provinces. When you move to the province or some enormous autonomous regions, then you are managing a huge population and huge economy. For example, if you are the in the People's Congress of the Shanghai Special Autonomous Region, then you are managing about the size of the economy of a few countries with a total population of about 25 million. So that is Shanghai. But you are talking about managing, for example, Guangdong. The Guangdong represents about 20% of current Chinese GDP, and with about 300 to about 600 million people. So, and then of course, up to the National People's Congress. So there's nothing special. Multi-level governments, okay? Lower level, higher level, etc., etc. One level over other levels. For us, we have a 3-level government, our local council, and then next level up, our state council, and then or state parliament, and then another level up, our federal government, 3-level governments. But the relationship between these governments are very different from the relationship of the Chinese government. Let's look at how they are, the eligibility and the voting rights. For the lowest level, the level of township, the towns, the village, then all citizens of the People's Republic of China who reached the age of 18 has the right to vote and also stand for election. And for getting stand for election, you need 5 nominations from your area. So, for example, I'm in Manningham Council. So if I want to be a member of the Manningham Council, I just get 5 residents from Manningham area endorse me, and I submit my application that I can stand for a membership. Unless you have some political crime, otherwise you can vote. But if you are stripped of political rights, of course you can't vote. That is the same for everywhere. And one voter has only 1 vote. So Manningham Council, I can only give 1 vote. But unlike here, we give more than 1 vote. For example, we vote for the Senate as well as for the House. But in China, there's only 1. There's not 2 parts of the parliament. Here we have 2 parts of the parliament. Progression. How can you now? Here we talk about only the lowest level. People have the right to vote. What about the higher level? What about the bigger groups of cities or districts or province? How they work? Or even National Congress, how they work? Well, the lower level will vote for the next level up. That means I'm in the towns. I have been working in the towns for this section. Next year, there's another opportunity. Then I can nominate myself to be voted up to the next level. And then another 5 years later, another chance comes, I can vote up to the next level again. And then there's five levels. So you have to work 5 years for the first level before you get the chance to be elected into the second level. And then you work 5 years for the second level before you can get the opportunity to get to the third level. So it goes. That means you need at least 25 years to reach the National Congress. There are exceptions. For example, the Chief Executive Officer of the Special Administration Region known as Hong Kong. Out of all the previous Chief Executive Officer, except 1, all of them are special members of the National Congress of China. they got a direct seats into the National Congress. So there are seats in the National Congress which are allocated. For example, the special region of Hong Kong, special region of Macau, and hopefully later on we have a special region of Taiwan. They will have special seats for them. But otherwise, most of the members are going through this way, getting lower from the lower level, moving up, getting more experience, managing larger areas, managing more economy. You are doing well, you move up. Because both the candidates and the voters know each other. For example, in a small town, most of the people around the town will know you. So you don't need much of a campaign. People know you anyway. For the next level up, you are among they call it deputies of different towns. You are working together with other deputies. And then after 5 years, there's another election. So among these people which you have worked with, then you consider whether yourself want to move up at next level with larger responsibility or not. If yes, then you will ask for your members from the other town's deputies to give you a nomination. And then you move up one level. And this moving up is based on merit. Of course, merits can be measured in many different ways. For example, the network you build, which is important, the ability you shown to the other townships, deputies, etc., etc. That are very complicated, of course. But the main criteria is you want your boss to be better than you. In order to make you more opportunities to work better so that you can move up. So each level up, you are trying to select the best people for the next level up. At the next level, of course, the geographic area larger, economy larger, number of citizens within the area is larger, and therefore you have larger responsibilities, and of course, more power in terms of whatever you want to do, or more budget, and then next level up, and so on. So as I said, it will take about 25 years from the lowest level to the highest level. The current president of China, Xi Jinping, start with level 1. He was a village secretary in a village. That means the lowest level. And then he moves himself up one level, one level, one level. Okay, now that's later on. Now I'm giving you another example of forming government. Chinese government is formed through the Chinese culture. We always tell the Chinese people tell their leaders in the past that the water support the boat, but the water can also sink the boat. The people supported somebody to be emperor, but the people is also able to pull the emperor down. We talk about heaven mandate. That means the emperor got the heaven's mandate to rule over the land. But the heaven mandate may be withdrawn if the emperor is not performing for the people. Now, that has always been part of the Chinese culture. Most of the time, the Chinese people don't care about the government. They want to have a living. So we are not very political. But when the lives are really, really hard, we can't survive. Then we will say the government forces us to be rebels. And we will start the revolution. Among all those people starting revolution, some will be stronger than the rest. And when one of them wins over the whole thing, pull down the previous government, and we have a new dynasty. Chinese dynasty come and Chinese dynasty goes. In our long history, there's about 28 dynasties already. The shortest one, about 40 years. The longest one, about 300 years. We do believe that the current communist dynasty is just beginning. It has been 70-something years. And by 2049, it will be 100 years. It's still young. I think China is still growing. What will happen next depends on a lot of things. But next term, I will talk about whether China can continue this peaceful rise and talk about whether China is really aggressive and what's the role China is playing in Middle East and in Asia. So that will be the next week. Okay, I finished my presentation, and I'll open up for discussion. Well, not much time left. Anyway, unmute yourself. You have any questions? Welcome.
Albert, if you wanted to change, if you weren't happy with the top Congress and you wanted to change it, would there be necessarily a Tiananmen Square incident?
I don't know. Okay. But at the moment, from what we know about the Chinese people's attitude at the moment, they are quite satisfied. So I don't think there will be a change in the foreseeable future. The Chinese people are currently, now think of it this way. For the last 40-something years, your income, your quality of life, your environment, all improved. What will you complain about? A little bit of personal problems? Yes. Other things, you are satisfied. The Chinese people are pretty satisfied at the moment. So I don't see a change of political structure coming anytime soon. Maybe another 50 years later, maybe, I don't know. But in the next 10 years, 20 years, I don't think so.
Oh, but yes. in relation to the EVs, the United States and Europe are certainly very worried about China's production.
Mm-hmm.
America last week slapped a 100% trade tariff on all China EVs, and yep. I'm pretty sure that Europe's about to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it because if they don't do it, the Chinese EVs will just decimate their home markets.
Yeah.
So it's pretty serious. But on another issue, can you explain, Albert, what China's third plenum means? Third plenum.
Chinese third. What third?
Third plenum. PLENUM.
Ah.
Plenum.
Now, if I try to recall.
It's all about discussing key reforms and what have you not for the coming 5-year period, I think. But I was trying to work out where that went with the Congress that they've just had.
Now, the Congress is re-elected every 5 years.
Yeah.
And in between these 5 years, the whole Congress doesn't sit, except for special occasions. So they sit every year, and that's called the plenary. And this year is their third plenary, so they are sitting. Now, usually, the first plenary, they will review what happened in the last 5 years, do a summary of whether the 5-year plan, previous 5-year plan has been executed correctly or fulfilled. Then they will start planning for the next 5 years. And usually by the third plenary, they will now have a pretty concrete proposal what the next 5 years should be doing. And then in the fourth plenary, they will finalize the next 5-year plan. And therefore, a lot of people pay attention to the third plenary years because this is year where the next 5-year plans are being formulated.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Of course, but it's not as simple as that. It's actually pretty complicated. Maybe I can do a talk on that later on.
Interesting.
Can I ask a question, Albert?
Yes, please. Yeah.
This is Andrew speaking.
Okay, Andrew.
With their leader, Xi Jinping, at what stage would he finish his rule? And how would that happen?
Now, before him, now, we have Mao Zedong, who ruled until his death. After that, we came Deng Xiaoping. Now, Deng Xiaoping wasn't a president, wasn't a premier, but he used the power. And then from him, there were 3 governments. All these 3 governments all have their president and premier for 2 sessions. That means 10 years. The one session, the first 5 years, and then next one 5 years, altogether 10 years. Xi Jinping broke that tradition. This is now the 3rd season for Xi Jinping. It is he came into power in 2011 or 2012. So this is his 3rd session. Whether he will continue, we don't know. Looks very likely that he will take another 5 years. That means I think that's only my speculation. Xi Jinping may rule for 20 years. Or maybe more, or maybe less. I don't know, but that's my guess. What he need to do for his remaining time, if he is going to rule 20 years, is to prepare China to take more important roles in the world. So we heard Xi Jinping talk about One Belt, One Road. We taught him saying about humankind is a common body. All humans belong to this common body. And you also notice that he spent a lot of time. The Chinese foreign policy has been much more active in the last 2 or 3 years compared with his first 10 years. So I think in the next 7 years or so of his rule, China will participate more in international issues. That's why I will try to talk about the Chinese role in Middle East and Chinese role in Asia in next term. That is my thinking. How that may change, we don't know, because at the moment, nobody knows who will be the next president, because obviously you need all the support from the National Congress in order to get into the political bureau. And you need all the members of the political bureau to elect you as the chair. And when you are the chair of the political bureau, you become automatically the president. So that is something similar to our cabinet as well. We have the House, members of the House, and then, of course, we have more than one party. But in China, there's only the Communist Party. The members of the House will elect for members into the political bureau. And that is similar to members getting elected into the cabinet. But here we got the prime minister selecting who come into the cabinet. In China, it is by election, by the whole national congress to elect who come into the political bureau. Once you are in the political bureau and you will discuss, it is always closed door, and then we'll elect who will be the secretary, and that secretary becomes the president. So we don't know yet. There's a lot of variables in the coming days.
Albert, if I can ask a quick question, hopefully to get a quick answer because we're past 3. At what level of the 5 levels do you have to be a membership of the Communist Party?
If you are not a member of the Communist Party, you can still move up. The Communist Party gives you a edge because the Communist Party have the executing task force behind you. So you want to do something. If you are a member of the Communist Party, you can pull the Communist Party members to help you to execute your plan. You are not, it doesn't say that you can't pull together the other members to help you, but it's more difficult. So being a member of the Communist Party is a plus. At what point you need to be a Communist Party? It is not explicit. No, there's no document saying that you must be a Communist Party to become a member of any level of the Congress. And actually, in the National Congress, there are special seats reserved for other political parties in China. Now, a lot of people say, oh, China only got one political party. That's not true. China has a lot of different political parties, and many recognized political parties have reserved seats in the National Congress. So no, not necessarily Communist Party member, but again, being a Communist member have a advantage over those who haven't.
Thank you.
Okay, so see you next time then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Al.
Al.
Thank you. Bye-bye.